how do I encourage a love of reading if my kids hate books? It can change and totally surprise you. I hated books until I was 16. I didn't care about it. I was totally hated reading. I read really slow. Somehow when I turned 16, I think it's because I had a girlfriend and we broke up and I was depressed. So I started picking up books and I didn't stop. I love reading. I have all these books behind me. I got really into philosophy and all this stuff. You never would have expected that about me. I was into sports and I was in fighter pilots as a kid. I didn't care about reading. That's just a little bit of encouragement that it can be really surprising when that could change. The only other thought, and I know, Matt, you probably have a lot of good thoughts on this, but if your kids hate books, trying to model it, like reading aloud, even as they're older. My mom read aloud to us kids all the time. We actually really enjoyed it. And even though it took me a long time to read on my own, audiobooks with my older kids, sometimes I'll just buy them an audiobook and be like, here, listen to this when you're going out on a walk or whatever, or they will on their own. Can be a good way to get them going. But Matt, I'm curious if you have thoughts, because this interesting anecdote that I heard from our teachers that help people in the OpenEd program, that the number of kids who have said they hate reading is twice as high as it was a couple years ago, just in our program. So that's anecdotal, but that's a really interesting thing. I'm curious your take on that.
It's worthy of a long conversation. So let me just shorten some of the thoughts. Definitely think that audiobooks is a great answer for many kids. Play it in the background while they're playing with Legos. Just get them used to stories. That could be one solution. The other thing is, how do you figure out their interests and passions? Something they're interested in might have something written about it, right? Whether it's in a newspaper, a magazine, or even most YouTube videos now have a transcript capability where you can read the transcript of it. So it might be an interesting idea to have them of their favorite, Mr. Beast video or Mark Grover video, whatever, is look at the transcript of it and just read the transcript and compare it to the audio. Because sometimes it's off because it was AI generated or something. This concept of reading isn't just pick up a book and go sit down and read it. Reading is all around us, from transcripts to audiobooks to videos. One idea could be watch your favorite movie. Our kids love Shrek growing up. Transcribe the whole movie and then read it, or have your brother or sister transcribe a different movie and you swap. That's reading, right? And it's interesting just to start reading things that aren't normally a book. Maybe they have a little bit of nervousness about it. And like your son did, start them at a kindergarten book, right? And let them feel really confident, have it be funny or a nursery rhyme or rhythmic, and have them just start small. Instead of saying you're at third grade or fourth grade, you need to be reading this level. Here's a book, or read it. That's not how to excite kids about reading.
It's funny. My youngest, he's 7 now, but he got really into baseball cards recently.
Yeah.
And we have been working with him on reading, and he could mostly read, but he's really not interested in it at all. But with baseball cards, he wants to read all the stats. He wants to read the other teams they've been on. So with his cards, I'm like, he's just telling me all this stuff about all these players. I'm like, where'd you learn that? Oh, from the cards. So you read all that? He's like, yeah. But then at night, when we put him in bed, we always read to him. And I'm always like, here, do you want to read the chapter? And he's like, no, I can't read it. I'm like, yes, you can. What does it say? And he'll tell me he can read, but in his mind, he can't read a book by himself. If he's bored, I'm like, go read. And he's like, nah, I can't read. And then he'll go play his baseball cards and I'll hear him reading the baseball cards. So it'll get there, right? It'll get there. And giving that a little space can be scary, but I love what you said about using things other than books to give them those tools.